Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another oddly specific book recommendation. However, this one might not be as oddly specific as I usually deal with because this is a part 2 video. Yes, if you haven't watched my part 1, make sure you do. I don't have them listed as part 1 and 2 because part 2s never do as well in the algorithm if you actually call them part 2. So we're not calling it that. I'll come up with a great name. But today, yes, we are talking about Pierced, Peckers, Bejeweled Johnsons, Prince Albert's, Jacob's Ladder, all the good hardware that heroes can have downstairs. I made one of these videos, it was actually 2 years ago. So I've read plenty of these by now. So today I do have 8 recommendations that I have read, and then 2 that I want to mention that I'm very interested in reading because they're by authors that I have liked their stuff so far. And when I was looking up Pierced Heroes, their names kept coming up and I was like, well, I think I need to investigate this, right? So if you don't know the different kinds of piercings, that's okay. I'm not going to be really like specifically saying like which heroes have this. Some of them have one, some of them have multiple, but you know, they're ribbed for her pleasure in one way or the other, right? That's what we're dealing with in this one. So part of the reason too why I want to make this again is that just in last month, I read 3 books that all had this and I was like, okay. I know I've read enough more of these since the last time that we can make another video. So we're going to do it today. And we're going to dive in with the one that really like inspired me to do it. This book actually isn't out yet. So, I mean, I wouldn't consider it a spoiler that he has a pierced dick, but it maybe will give you, you know, a little extra excitement for this book as if you're not already excited already. And that one is actually Grimm and Barrett by Juliet Cross. This is the 6th and final book in the Stay a Spell series, and it is my entire personality. Okay, I love this book so dearly. I love this entire series so much. And we finally get Henry and Clara. And Henry, he has a couple fun surprises about him. One of them including pierced cock, as well as he is actually a virgin hero as well, which I just love. And there's a really cute line in this book where Clara asked, you know, you haven't had sex before, so why did you get this piercing? And he's like, well, I knew that it would pleasure the woman and I wanted to be ready for it. We love a man who does his homework ahead of time. I absolutely love it. So Henry is also like tattooed all over the place and it's just beautiful. So I won't say any more about this book because again, you're probably already going to read it, but I have talked on and on about the Stay a Spell series, and I won't stop because I fucking love it. Juliet Cross is a gem. I can't wait to see what she does next. Next, one of the books that I actually reread this book this month because it was one of my Patreon picks, and I forgot that this hero had a pierced dick, and that is actually Riker from Grieved, Lost by Adelaide Forrest. This one is a captive, in a way, single mom. She has 2 little kids. She's a widow. And our hero has had his eye on her for a few years now. And now that it's been a year since her husband died, he's ready to make his move. And he goes about completely taking over her life in every aspect. Like, and I appreciate it. Okay, I appreciate it. Even though this is pretty twisted, definitely morally gray, maybe even morally black, except for when you see how he is with her children. Like, I was forgiving of pretty much every single thing that he does with the heroine because of how much he loves her kids. Like, I'm that kind of reader, right? So, absolutely love this one. This is part of a mafia series as well. He's kind of like a fixer or like a muscle man for the Blondie crime syndicate. So, there definitely is some dust-ups in regards to that. And a lot of this book is the heroine very much like resisting him because he's just bulldozed her life and literally gives her no choice, and I'm like kind of gaslights her just a little bit, like gaslights her dad as well or like wins him over. Gaslight might be too harsh, I don't know, but I had a really fun time revisiting this book, and Adelaide Forrest just writes crazy obsessive heroes anyway. It's kind of amazing. Then I recently read Their Broken Legend by Nikki Harris. Now, this one is also the end of a series. In fact, I think this one is also like book 6 in a series in the Kids of the District. So this one is a mafia. This one you could probably read as a standalone if you want to. I mean, I generally like don't recommend that for people, but I realize when I'm doing like a recommendation video with a specific like trope or oddly specific thing, you might want to, and you could. This is kind of like, they're like Australian mafia. And she's actually kind of this like spoiled rich girl, but her dad has just gotten in some trouble and he's put in jail. And so her family's in a tight spot, and she's actually planning to like sell her virginity to like pay her dad's bail, which, wow, the length she's gonna go to for her father. And then she runs into Xander Butcher, who she knows of. She's had her eye on before, but now he has his eyes on her, and he runs into her when he's drunk after a fight. He is a fighter, and he ends up eating her out and making her scream, and then like passing out before anything more happens, which is great. This book also deals with fighting injury and some possible like memory loss and injury because of that, so keep that trigger warning in mind. But it also was just really beautiful between the two of them, and just when something is really starting to happen, like, is he going to forget her? Now, this isn't an amnesia romance, but there's like the threat of that kind of happening, you know. And then of course he has a beautifully bejeweled cock, and we love to see it. He knows how to use it. Yes, he does. Then we have one that I just read. I actually read it yesterday and put off filming this because I wanted to read this book anyway. It was already on my May TBR. And when I was building this list, this book came up on it. And so I was like, I'm going to try to squeeze that one in before I film this. So this was Savage Desire by Tiffany Roberts. This is book 5 in their Infinite City series. And this one is, I think you say his name like Jurgen, I think is how we say it. But anyway, he's one of our crew that works with Arcanthus. Sorry, his name's hard to say. And he is out drinking one night. He meets a bartender. He gets into kind of a fight with, ends up being some slave traders, and him and the bartender, which I forgot her name. I apologize for that, but her name just went over my head. Their names are really interesting in this series anyway. And they wake up on a slaver ship. They're both completely naked. They're in these tiny cells. And because they had like messed with these slavers' timeline, they take them too. And because our heroine is a human woman, they'll be able to sell her for quite a lot. It is a theme throughout the series of human women being sold into slavery in this, and these men kind of working to get them out. And what I really loved about this one is that we finally are getting our like slavery fighting team together, because again, like, all these women have been dealing with this through the series, and it just hasn't been spinning the wheels. I was getting kind of frustrated after the 4th book when a heroine gets rescued from slavery. I'm like, why isn't Arcanthus doing something about this? Like, why isn't he using his resources to have his crew do this? And I think we're finally getting to that. But anyway, but these two end up captured, and then not too far into this journey to where they're going to be sold, their ship gets taken down, and now it becomes a survival romance. Like, they don't have any way to contact Arcanthus. They need to survive not only the slavers who lived, but also other beings who live on this planet, as well as our hero. He is a certain kind of alien race that he has like blood rages and lusts, and it turns out that our heroine is his mate, and so he very much wants to mate her, but because he is like an orc-like alien, he's afraid that he'll hurt her. But you know what? He fits. And so do the bejewels on his dingling. Fit. It's great. I love the audiobooks for this series. That's why I've been taking my time with it, because they've been coming out like every month to 6 weeks. And so I've been taking my time with it. And then I want to talk about another Tiffany Roberts real quick. And this one actually just released. So I just read this did I read it the very end of March? Or in April? I can't remember when I read it. But it is Yearning for Her. And this is currently like a standalone. They do have quite a few standalones. So this one is an incubus, and he definitely has a piercing. I actually have some of the fan art, or like the commissioned art, actually, because I'm one of their patrons. So I have a commissioned art of his dick, and it looks good. He's got a good one. But he's an incubus. He feeds off of the pleasure of his partners, and then he has this one night stand with our heroine, who is just getting out of, like, she breaks up with her boyfriend when she finds out that he's cheating on her, and as happens quite a bit in romance, we know how it goes. And she runs into Kyan, and he happens to just think she's absolutely luscious and beautiful, and they have a one-night stand, and he gets so much pleasure from her. He feeds so much from her that he actually passes out. Like, she knocks him on his ass, which I thought was really cool, because she's actually the one who sneaks out in the middle of the night. Like, they have this one-night stand, and he's literally blissed out. She overloaded his pleasure sensors, and he has passed out, and she sneaks out. And now it's been a couple weeks, and he's discovered that he can't feed off of anyone anymore. And of course, the reason being fated mates. He has found his fated mate, which he didn't know that incubus could do. And now the only one he can feed from is her. And so when he finds her again, he needs to try to convince her to be with him. You know, he wants to continue fucking her and be able to feed from her and live. And she isn't interested, because though she had a one-night stand with him, she doesn't just want to fuck around. Like, she's looking for something serious, and he doesn't know how to do serious. So he has to learn how to woo her, basically so he can live. But one thing he does start to discover while he is wooing her is that it isn't just sexual pleasure that he's able to feed off of from her. So when he woos her with flowers or does nice things for her, he discovers that he can be fed that way too. So I thought that was really, really sweet. So this one is a bit long for my taste, a bit long for what I think it should have been, but I still enjoyed it. Again, I love Tiffany Roberts' works, and I mean, it definitely fits the pierced pecker requirement. All right, then we have one I'll just mention real quickly. That is The Company of Fiends by Catherine Moon. This one is a reverse harem with monsters, and there is one character in the harem that has, and Hunter, who is actually kind of like, he becomes like a patron of the heroine. She works at this magical sex theater, and he falls for her, and he has a piercing. And so I really did enjoy this. I like it more than the first one, and I really liked the different characters and monsters that became a part of this harem, and I really felt like there was more relationship going on with everyone rather than just her. You know I love that. You know I love that. So definitely recommend. Then I have two that I want to share that are by Kresley Cole. So Kresley Cole actually has quite a few pierced peckers in her repertoire. She also has some like demon dicks and some, you know, vampire cocks that are just like all these things. But these two specifically have where it is described that they have things on their cock. So we have Wicked Abyss, which is Cyan and Lila, and he is turning into a demon. I mean, he already is a demon, but he's slowly turning into like full monster mode after centuries. Like, he is fully coming into his like demonness, and with that comes his visage is transforming, and part of that is that his cock has like piercings and bits of like metal ribs in it, and so he's got a bit of like magical piercings going on, and I love that. So this one I love because it is like kind of a fairy tale reimagined within the Immortals After Dark. I mean, our heroine is actually a I think she's a fairy. She's a fairy, right? Yeah, she's a fae. And she looks like someone who had ruined Cyan many years ago, and so he wants to get revenge. And she's actually been working at like a Disneyland-like place playing Cinderella. And so she gets like kidnapped from him when she's like in her Cinderella dress, which like makes her look fake. There's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But Kresley Cole does such an amazing job. This one has the hero needs to grovel so hard in this one. It's so great. So yeah, I just love it. I love it. This is a good one. And then, of course, there is Sweet Rootin. And now this one is about Rune and Josephine. And Rune is a Bane blood. And so he is a type of like fae crossbreed. They're like dark fae, I think is what they're called. And his bodily secretions, like all kinds of them, are poisonous to everyone. Except he discovers to this little woman named Josephine, who is a unknown species of paranormal. Like, she can be invisible when she wants to be, and no one can see. Well, actually, she's invisible all the time. Like, no one can see her. And she doesn't know why this happened to her or how she got to be that way. Except for Rune is able to see her. When she comes upon him, she's kind of spying on him when he is interrogating some nymphs, I think they are. And the way that he interrogates is Rune has a magical dick. And this dick does have a piercing on it, which we love to see. We love to see. And he happens to be sexually pumping these women for information, as it were. And any woman just wants to fall down and open her legs for him because he's just that magical. He's taught himself to be that way. And as with all Kresley Cole's people, he's definitely tortured and a sad, sad man beneath all of his bluster. But when Josephine, he tries to get some information from her and she bites him, he's like, well, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. And then when she doesn't, it's this revelation. It's like, oh my gosh, could I actually be with someone who I won't kill them? Like, what is this? But there's also a very specific mission that he has, and that doesn't include having a mate. Well, fate doesn't give a fuck whether you think that you need a mate or not, and that's what we love to see about it. So this is a lot of people's favorite Immortals After Dark. It's very close for me. It's very, very close. I mean, Lothair is always going to be my favorite, but the way that the story was created in this one and how it goes is absolutely epic. Like, very well done. Absolutely. So those are all the recs I have that are ones I have read. And then I have two, like I said, that are on a TBR for me. I want to get to them as soon as I can because I've heard there's some Pierce Peckers in there. So there is Pucking Around by Emily Rath. I believe this one is a contemporary sports reverse harem. I think they're hockey players. And I've only read one book by Emily Rath so far, but I want to read more from her. I'm currently reading her Second Son series. It's a historical Regency romance that will be reverse harem. And yeah, I'm interested to see this hockey one. And when I saw that this one, someone has a pierced dick, I was like, all right, let's go. And then the other one is Demon Lover by Heather Guerrero. Now, I've read some paranormal by Heather Guerrero, and I've also read one of her contemporary erotic romances. And this is from a series of hers that I have not started yet, but Demon Lover apparently has some jewelry in it as well. So those are two that I want to get to as soon as I can. So before you recommend any books at this video, make sure you check out the other video. Make sure that I don't already know about it, I haven't already read it. And if not, please drop some recs down below for me to find more of these, because I do so love when it shows up in a series. I just love it. Or in a book. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out all my oddly specific and taboo recommendations. I have playlists on my profile, or I'll pin one of them up there. And make sure you subscribe to the channel for more recommendations, and I'll see you next time. Bye.